Underground podcast. I am your host, Chad Portal. Joining me is Marcus Green, the glorious one himself. Marcus, how are you? I don't tell me.
Good, man.
There he
Muted
is.
myself. Yeah, we thought we was coming at you on Mondays, and we are back.
Yeah, yes, we are. Big news from Friday night. We have a new Impact World Champion, Christian Cage. He beat Kenny Omega because you couldn't have an Impact guy beat Kenny Omega. We're gonna get to that. But the thing I want to start off with is there are middling and contradicting reports here. And it's so minor, that's why I want to start with it, because it's so dumb. There are some who are, I think it was Scott D'Amore, who referred to the lineage of the TNA Impact World Championship dating back to 2006 when Christian Cage won it, indicating that the time that the company was using the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship is kind of retroactively identified as the Impact Championship. Then Impact Twitter account just tweeted out that Christian Cage is the fourth Canadian to hold the Impact World Championship, joining Robert Roode, Eric Young, Kenny Omega, and now him. But if we are acknowledging that the NWA title was the first incarnation of the of the Impact Championship, which is what some people are claiming it to be, then he would have been the first one on that list, and Kenny Omega would have been the fourth to join that list. So I don't know what people are doing anymore, and they're dumb, and I hate them, and I want to bang my head against the wall. This is what happens when you try to change titles' names. I don't even want to talk about the lineage of the TNA Legends Championship because that's just going to make my head hurt.
Oh my! Went through that and played a guessing game. Guess what? It got named after that. I remember that show.
It was the Legends Championship, the Globals Championship, the Television Championship. Then it was retired and brought back as the King of the Mountain Championship. Did I miss anyone?
Defunct.
Ah, yes. I'm surprised they didn't just bring that belt out for the Grand Championship. Like, oh yeah, now it's the Grand Championship. It looked like crap. Like I don't know how else to describe the Global Championship. I like the face of it, but the maroon belt just makes me think of like pop. Sorry, soda. Fucking weirdos drinking soda. I don't know why it makes me think of like Coke, but it does. Not the kind that I'm sure Hulk Hogan enjoyed. I mean more the kind that AJ Styles enjoys. Although that beard would make me think they might be one and the same. Coke community. So anyway, Christian defeated Kenny Omega. I was about to call him Kenny King. And the funny thing is, like, Kenny King is a great wrestler for Ring of Honor. But I don't know about you, Marcus, but did you ever call KFC Kenny Kings before?
KFC Kenny Kings. No.
Maybe that's an Ohio thing.
It's funny because I was contemplating ordering some KFC from Grubhub today, but no, I've never called it Kenny Kings.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I enjoy me some KFC. It is delicious. Let's see, King's KFC.
It really is.
Google those. So let's see. Our bit rates are low, and I don't know why. Oh, it was a merger. That's why. Kenny King restaurant chain sold. Managers met about KFC growth plans. Huh. But there you go. I just answered my own question. Was it a local thing? I don't need to know. All right. So, Marcus, what did you think about the Christian Cage title win?
As a longtime Christian Cage fan, it was cool to see. Cool for him to get a big win. Cool for somebody to finally beat Kenny Omega. But ultimately, again, it was a happy cheer followed by an immediate sigh because I'm like, Kenny definitely needed to drop the Impact title. But me and like you, and I'm sure many others feel he definitely needed to drop it to an Impact guy. This anybody but you Impact guy challenge that's going on with the title right now is kind of annoying. And I mean, I think the one thing that I appreciated about it was how now it's not that he had to do it, but it's allowed for him to actually show a lot of verbal acknowledgement and appreciation for what TNA meant to his career.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about how how they gave him the chance where he wouldn't get it elsewhere, because I don't think we would have gotten the Christian that we got when he returned to WWE had he not had his TNA run and been able to show what he could do as a consistent singles main eventer. So that's cool that he's doing that, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with the fact that the company is seen in a far better light now because of the new regime. I think the last time we even saw him in Impact when they had to do that trade between him and Flair for that Hall of Fame thing.
What a weird moment in wrestling history. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because I don't think he really wanted to be there, and it kind of came off like that. But a lot of bad blood has been between a lot of people in TNA over the years, but it's better now, which is good. But like I said, it's kind of bittersweet. Love Christian, love seeing him back wrestling. Period. It was a really cool match. Hell of a kill switch on that chick. Gotta give Kenan, if nothing else, he's not afraid to take a hell of a bump. But yeah, it's like, man, like we got to get this back on an Impact guy, because as I said before the show, as much as I like Christian, as much as I love the lineage with the company, he is an AEW guy.
The thing that I think is fascinating is, like, there's a part of me that's fine with it, right? Because, like you mentioned, it's Christian. TNA built him, and Impact will carry him. But the thing that kind of always irked me about this whole agreement was, I thought, and I think many other people thought, that the end game was to elevate someone within Impact, because while, yes, Kenny Omega and AEW is helping out Impact, it's not a one-sided partnership. Impact's been around longer than AEW, and arguably everyone who watches AEW has had, will have, or will eventually go back to watching Impact. There's a lot of overlap. So the idea that AEW isn't getting some type of added benefit from Impact is a false nomer. Like, they are. They're not getting as big of a boost as Impact is, but let's be honest, the partnership between the two companies have helped boost the excitement levels of AEW's TV show. I don't think there's a coincidence that they've been maintaining up until this past week a plus million viewership as well and as long as they have had on their own. The partnerships with New Japan and Impact and the idea of anything and everything can happen on the show is part of the reason to tune in. You genuinely don't know what's going to happen next. Sting pops up in December of 2020. Kenta, I forget who he kicks, but he kicked someone in the face, and everyone's like, oh my God, Aleister Black showed up with dumb face paint and took Cody's boot. They're not all gems. But this idea that people from other companies can pop up in AEW is part of the selling point of the modern AEW product. So, yeah, there is some cross-branding. There is some mutual beneficial kind of cohabitation going on. And to have Kenny lose the belt as of right now to Christian is kind of a slap in the face to a lot of people in the company, because I think we all thought that the idea was that Kenny would get pinned 1, 2, 3 at Bound for Glory. Now, I still think there is a way out of this. I knew Christian was going to win the minute they said that the match was going to be for the TNA Championship or the Impact World Championship. Like, as soon as they announced that, I knew he was going to win. I also knew he was going to win because it was the debut episode of Rampage. There's just some tropes in wrestling, as much as I hate that word, that are true. New shows are always going to have big matches. It's just how it is. But I do think there's an opportunity, because we're not even in September yet, for Christian to drop the belt back to Kenny Omega and Kenny Omega to come to Bound for Glory and lose the belt to someone in Impact. If they do that, I'm fine with everything, because it doesn't matter at that point how long Kenny has held the belt. The point that you want to get isn't the longevity of the reign, but the pinning of Omega. And honestly, I think you can still have that if let's say Christian goes to Bound for Glory and faces off with Josh Alexander for the title. Sake argument. But let's say Kenny faces off with Eddie Edwards at Bound for Glory. and Eddie wins. I think that still does the same thing as dropping the belt at Bound for Glory, because the point is to get that win back. If that happens, I'm copacetic with it. If it doesn't happen, then I'm going to be perturbed, to be kind. I don't want to be perturbed. Do you want to be perturbed, Marcus?
No, but it's interesting listening to you talk because I was not now I'm thinking about because we know the first match that title defense that Christian has to unfortunately have.
Brian
And I'm wondering, and if God, if they even attempt to do something with that, man, you're gonna hear two big tables collectively flipped on two different sides of the world. Um, but yeah, I'm wondering like, did they put it on Christian because it's more believable for guys like Myers to have a shot because you don't put Brian Myers against Kenny Omega.
I think it's the inverse. I do think, yes, you're right, but I think you're looking at it from the different perspective. I think they picked Myers because they were going to have Christian. I don't think that they made the switch because they were going to have Myers. Does that make sense? Myers came, I think, after the decision was made to put the belt on Christian. But I will ask this. Do you even think that a Brian Myers headlined event is worth checking out? That's like a weak main event. I don't care how long Christian's been on the shelf and how many years people have been waiting for this and the return to the Impact Zone. And it's fucking Brian Myers, man.
Oh, man, I get a guy. We give guys as much credit as we can, but to me, that's an online exclusive.
Yeah, and granted, it's gonna be,
Like,
so you're right there.
Yeah, like I said, it's gonna be great to see Christian back in Impact Zone. But if they even try to attempt to drop that to Miles, because obviously he would have help. And going back to my point about Christian, there's less shenanigans that go on with somebody who exclusively rolls solo. There's always gonna be some effort with Omega match between Callis and the Good Brothers. Always gonna be something. We got an overabundance of that with his match with Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
But with Christian, there's a little bit more leeway for a believable match because even as much as we, rally behind and praise Impact and love it, if there's one thing that company knows how to do is unnecessarily overbook the hell out of a world title match. So, that this kind of alleviates some of that inherent tomfoolery. But yeah, like I said, no shot at Myers. He had a more entertaining match than I anticipated he would when he fought Cardona at that last big event when they were basically doing edge moves off each other and whatnot. But yeah, that's about where he peaks at for me. Like I said, I feel like this is a starting match for Cage. I hope it kind of builds against somebody like the Alexander because I would imagine that there's still potentiality for an option C. He certainly has had to build up in matches to invoke an option C.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly has had the attitude towards, look, man, until y'all get that belt back on somebody that actually goes here, I'm your world champion. I'm putting on these matches. I'm the guy that's, having these show-stopping performances. And, y'all just playing around. So I think that would be the marquee match, and hopefully they can get Edwards back in there somewhere. But we'll see. It's hard to call it right now because I think a lot of what's happening is if them not being able to keep fans on their toes is like it's kind of subduing expectations. So it's like a lot of people probably more excited that anything can literally happen or anybody can show up, as opposed to like all that Melina and Mickey James and New Bullet Club. All that's great, but can we get the belt back where it's supposed to be? Because everybody just pops. Look, we popped crazy when we got to see. Girl show up against Deonna Purrazzo.
You Jazz?
Thunder Rosa.
Oh, Thunder Rosa. Okay.
Yeah. Thunder Rosa when we got to see her, but it's like it's only so many times you can do that, specifically when we can't keep her, which sucks. But it was cool to see. So I'm wondering because you look at an interview with Gail Kim dropped. She was like, it's working. what they've been doing. She's just like, as long as they, have things prepared and planned out for the finish line. And right now, I'm like, I don't know, man. I talked about this with somebody else. I was like, it's kind of feels like Impact's that little rich kid that got a custom court, and then the neighborhood kids that are bigger than the little kid was like, yo, man, this is tight. This is dope. Can we play? And the kid's like, yeah. And then the kid ends up watching the big kids play on the full court for an hour, and he don't get to play. And then the kid raises a fuss, and then the big kid's like, you know what, man, we don't want to play on your little funky ass court anyway, and then leave. I do not want that to be Impact.
Did you just describe the Golden State Warriors losing Kevin Durant?
No, that works. That works.
Right?
That actually
works. I mean, everything you said is right. And I really don't have anything more to add to that. I'm just hoping that everything works out well, and that the "you don't even go here" jokes don't need to go on much longer, because Although I will say this, if we end up getting Jay White versus Christian Cage, even though I'm not a big fan of either of these guys, to be clear. But if we were to somehow get a match between those two to headline like an internet event, I don't know what they have coming up before Bound for Glory, that would be huge for Impact. Granted, it's two non-Impact guys, but then again, Impact's entire philosophy for the last 20 years has been, you can work elsewhere if you work for us, so like, why wouldn't this be any different? I think we're just looking at it because back then they were the number 2, and now they're number 3 or number 4, and they're no longer number 2, so it's kind of a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe this was just me, but was I the one watching Impact and was like confused because I didn't know about all the events that took place over the weekend? And I was like, okay, who is are we having resurgence or we having emergence? Like, what is our
resurgence, emergence? There's one championship is having an event called Emergence, I think, which is a MMA promotion. So like, it's just Divergence, Copernicus. Like they're all just running out with the same names now.
Because I'm like, I know Impact got a show coming up called Emergence?
I think it's Emergence.
It's Emergence, but then they just New Japan apparently was having their that show, but the Impact guys was on the show where their company has Emergence talking about Resurgence. I'm like, wait a minute, somebody getting the damn names mixed up? So that was funny. So I'm glad that's confusing.
By the by, when you said something about wanting to keep somebody, the first thing I thought of was the Casper movie, and I'm probably gonna watch that tonight. It probably should work.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff, and that house reminds me of the Monsters house from Beetleborg vibes.
Yes, yes, it does. It definitely has that kind of Munsters haunted mansion from Beetleborg's vibe. Yes, I will give you that. Plus, that was like the movie where Christina Ricci stole my heart, and then she had to give it back. Like, I liked her as Wednesday Addams, but I was also like 6, and I was like, "You girls." I mean, what was that movie? 92, I think. And Casper, I think, was from 95. So I would have been 9. So I wouldn't have vocalized that she has my heart, but I would have definitely been watching everything she was in at that point. No, I just think she's a good actress. No, I don't have a crush on her. Leave me alone. That's how prepubescent we probably sounded.
I don't know how that new I don't know how that new Addams Family is gonna go, but I will tune in to see how Catherine Zeta-Jones does her Morticia.
I mean, they got a good cast. The guy playing the Gomez was a shock. I was like, that dude is not attractive. I mean, like think about like who's been playing Gomez Addams for the last, umpteen decades. Always a more suave Lothario type. And like this guy's more of a comedian type. So like, I don't know. I'm interested, but also like, why no Christina Ricci? That's all I gotta say. Why no Christina Ricci? That's going to bother me. But I do like the girl who's going to be Wednesday. I liked her in The Babysitters, the sequel. I like her. So I'm definitely going to check it out. Like, it's one of my favorite franchises. But don't do. Speaking of doing me dirty, that show better not do me dirty. I just saw that they're doing a Field of Dreams television show. Marcus, if you've ever wanted to see me attempt to chisel off California from the country itself, let that show be a just dredge of stupidness. And I will spend the rest of my days chipping away at the border of California to get Hollywood to drown. Do not fuck with that franchise. It shouldn't even be a franchise. It's a standalone movie, and it should have always been. But all right, whatever. Fuck it. 2 tears in a bucket.
Yeah, look,
Suck
man,
it.
I ain't exactly popping fire. Yeah, I wasn't exactly popping firecrackers for that Sandlot sequel, but it happened. Wasn't the worst thing, but
Sequels, you mean? Well, aren't there 3?
Oh, I don't know if it is. I treat it like the second Bambi because I didn't even realize until recent years that they had a second Bambi.
Bambi 2. This time, it's personal. I'm looking for a man.
Why they didn't let Deadpool do that?
Right? Just like fucking Bambi rolls in dressed like Arnold Schwarzenegger in T2. I'm looking for a man. He's a hunter. There's a lot of hunters around here, Mr. Deer. That's Mr. Bambi. Really? Wait, Bambi's a boy's name? Wait, what do you mean by that? Oh, of course it's a boy's name. Well, I'm just saying, my daughter's name is Bambi, and my new best friend's girlfriend is a stripper, and her stage name is Bambi. I just always thought that Bambi was a girl's name. It's a boy's name. Then he gores the shop owner, and he's like, "You bring me his head." God, I want to make this movie now. It's so awesome.
In a world where good deers go bad.
Deer's gone wild. Bambi's got his face in a pile of cocaine because he can't get over the death of his mother. After the death of my mother, my father taught me what it was to be a real buck. And all I got in return was a pile of nothing. He's like walking down the side of a highway like fucking Clark Kent. Has like a leather jacket, like a straggly beard.
Family Guy, South Park, get on this, man. This is gold.
Do you know what a oh yeah, how do I phrase this? Do you know what deers call their own money shots? What? Buck shots.
You just finally found in the movie. Boy, do we have problems over here.
Oh, jeez. All right, well, let's move on. I'm going to obsess about Christina Ricci on my own time. All right, let's talk. Let's talk about Triple Mania real fast. So the results of the event. You don't know any of these people. I don't know any of these people. Here's who we do know. Deanna Purrazzo defeated Fabia Paci to win the Reina de Reinas Impact, the Reina de Reinas, and retain the Impact Knockout Championship. Big move for Impact. They're going to be working AAA for Bound for Glory, and I would imagine that we will get some individuals at the event as well. I love Fabia Paci. She was actually on the show when Impact went down there in early 2020, I think, before the COVID situation happened. And I think she had some words with, was it Deanna? I think it may have been Deanna. Maybe it was when Tessa was still there. But she's been on Impact TV before. And she's basically, for anyone who doesn't know who Fabia Paci is, she's the Gail Kim Trish Stratus of AAA. She's legend.
I do. Actually, now that you bring that up, I do remember that little stint because it was her, Black Taurus, also during that time with I was about to call him Drago, Tessa's dude.
Not Lasamba, the other one. Daga, there it is.
Yeah, Daga, and
Spanish
then,
Davey Richards.
Because I want to say, yeah. I want to say she had a run-in with Taya, who I think held that belt for a while because she was, that was a part of her title when she first came in. The Reinas, and all that good stuff. So, it'll be cool to see her back.
I'm down for that. And Lady Shani is just one of the best. And I know like people are always like, you can't objectify women. Well, fuck off. One, you can appreciate a pretty girl. Just saying. But that's not what I mean by this. She's one of the best looking female wrestlers out there. She has like this ninja quality to her, and she just looks very mysterious and imposing. So, you know, she if we get Lady Shani on Impact TV, I think that would be very cool. I'm down for that. The Lucha Brothers were on the event as well. What's that?
Yeah. No, I was just saying, come on, man. Like, how long has aesthetic been associated with being a... Come on, like, stop.
Right. The Lucha Brothers defeated El Hijo del Vikingo and Laredo Kid, as well as Tarus and Brian Cage, which was a pairing I didn't know was happening. Apparently, Brian Cage is now a face in AEW. You know what? He's not in AEW? A feature. Puma King.
Over.
It's almost like they don't know how to use them. Puma King, Corey Graves' brother, that's who Sam Adonis is, and Diamante Azul defeated Pacango, Chessman, and Murder Clown. Kenny Omega defeated Andrade El Idolo to retain the AAA Mega Championship. And Psycho Clown, in a mask versus hair match, defeated Rey Escorpion. So there you go. In a Lucha de Apuestas match.
Yeah, shout out. Look, man, like I said, I caught some highlights because I couldn't go from a 3-hour show with the New Japan thing and then go follow it up with Triple Mania. It's just too much for me. Love it all, but it's a lot. But caught the highlights. Good show. That 6-man opener with Cage and the Lucha Brothers and stuff was good. Deanna had a real solid effort. Andrade, because this was the thing that they got tweeted about over the weekend. Andrade looked more relevant and epic in his entrance alone, showing up straight cosplaying his Black Mask. He looked more of a star in his entrance than he did his entire main roster run with WWE. Then, apparently, he contacted Zordon and said, I need father-in-law power now. And Flair came out like he had got a fresh pacemaker. And it was funny. Like, he actually looked younger. Like, it was weird. But it was cool to see, man. It was cool to see that little link up. And obviously Kenny Omega came out with Conan. So that was the whole thing. But it was interesting.
Worst Zord ever. We need old white guy Zord. No one jumping into the back of that. No.
Freaking Black Mask and Nature Boy Al Ghul. They're like, you need to go back and take the dip, sir. You're missing a Lazarus bath. You forgot you're still old.
Get back in the dip. I am the dip. Woo!
I am the dip. That's exactly what he'd say.
So we'll probably see Perazzo at Bound for Glory with both belts. That'll be cool, especially if she's facing off with an international talent. But the big story out of Triple Mania involved one Andrade El Idolo, and it had nothing to do with the match. Shocking enough. No. Apparently, some clown on Twitter decided to send a snippet of the match review that Dave Meltzer did to Idolo. And Idolo responded with, this dude always, I forget the exact quote, I'm not going to read it, I don't care. But he basically said that Dave Meltzer always craps on Charlotte and him, and that he never says anything good about them. And then he says, you can stick your star rating. But the funny thing is Dave Meltzer's routinely been a fan of both Charlotte and Andrade Idolo. And he wasn't the one to bring up star ratings for the match. It was actually Idolo. Was talking about how he was going to have a 5-star classic or some nonsense like that with Omega and how it was going to be the greatest match ever. And it really it pisses me off that in pro wrestling only and MMA, that wrestlers can be so indignant against genuine talented reporters and it just be accepted. It happened last weekend, but Deshaun Watson, who is just having the worst year. Just the worst year. Turns out when you do wrong to people, people will come for you. It's a thing. But the reporters were standing on a sideline just taking photos of a practice because that's what they're paid to do. And Watson got in their face about it. He's like, you guys are always taking photos, fuck off or something like that. And rightfully, people are like, well, Watson needs to realize that this is their job and they need to treat them with more respect because the reporters and news outlets and ESPNs and Fox Sports 1s of the world are the reason why there are so many viewers on your product every week. A little respect. That's all we ask. And granted, listen, we'll police our own. Don't worry. We have a reporter in Cleveland who is just the absolute worst. And we always give him shit because he's just terrible. But with wrestling fans, it seems to be almost like a badge of honor to go after somebody who didn't do anything wrong because one of their favorites is upset. It's very culty, and I don't know why. I've always had a kind of a theory, Marcus, that wrestling fans think that wrestling is so detached from reality that there's space for them to kind of claim ownership in a way that they can't in more mainstream properties without, having contacts. I don't know if that's a reality, but it feels that way. It feels like this is like a beginning of a thing, and people are trying to climb on one another to try to get to that one spot where they can claim some stake in power or some stake in notoriety that can guide the industry or fandom in a certain direction.
Yeah, it's weird, and we see this with celebrities too. And specifically when it comes to a lot of these, me, you and Zach have had these endless conversations about just this over attachment and deep, almost sycophant-like behavior with these fake characters known as superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in a lot of ways for some of these fans, these performers, these larger than life people are like a closer thing to them than these superheroes because they feel like it's somebody they can actually touch.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this too. Like a lot of these people, like they do with celebrities, they live vicariously through these people. That's why they had these. They don't have an actual personal social media account. They got a account dedicated to these individuals. That's all they do is they retweet their stuff. They post photos. They what's the Optimus line? To mend and defend. That's what they do with these people all day long, all day strong, and they feel like they need to do this because they're the champion of that fan club and they know them better than anybody else does, and this, that, and the third. We see they're not at all too different from these CW teams that living down these ships, live and die by these ships. And they have these fan pages dedicated to them, and they, rallying around stuff and all that. This person needs more time, and like nobody cares about the story narrative. Such and such didn't kiss this episode. Like it's weird, but it is what it is. Like I said, I think a lot of these people just try to live vicariously through these people, and like what Rihanna's Navy or Nicki Minaj's Barbs or Beyonce's Beehive, they feel better, even if it's a shitty collective. They feel good to be in a group. So now it's even worse. And then because you have a lot of them that don't have a lot of time on their hands, they can feel like they're at the top because they got all day. And speaking of Meltzer, I'm still waiting on that kill brigade he had coming at him. from the freaking the iconics or whatever in the hell he talked about. Like I'm still waiting on them. So it's like it's just this weird thing to the point where he would have probably never even seen that thing with Meltzer if a fan didn't take it upon themselves, like, let me deliver this to you, my lord and master. It's like, what?
With the hump and the dead foot.
Like, we must send message to King's Landing. They are talking shit about Idolo and Winterfell. Like, what?
No.
It's so hard.
So, one, the term should be, Marcus, to stand and demand. If we're talking about Optimus Prime's quotes, that needs to be the one for fandoms because that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Like the same thing that happened with the Iconics happened with El Idolo. Someone sent him a video or an audio clip of his review of the match, and honestly, I don't get how these individuals can be in front of so many people for so long and still be this sensitive about criticism. I don't. Marcus, if I was to criticize someone for criticizing me, I'd lose my job. But these wrestlers are so placated to and babied and coddled that any actual criticism or any real negativity towards them is like the most egregious thing you can do. And let me coddle you, my sweet dear boy. You're too good for this world.
No, you're absolutely right. No, allow me not to levy all the heap on the load on the sickle fans, which they deserve a lot of it. But when it comes to these people, when you look no further than probably the greatest recent example in the last few years was Seth Rollins. Like, a lot of that crap that he was spewing online was pure projection.
Mm-hmm.
He knew just exactly how bad that booking is, regardless of whether he's champion or not. Nobody ever said he wasn't putting in 100%, but you can put in 100% and still get crap, because ultimately he's just a spoke on the wheel of an engine that really doesn't, see him as a pivotal piece until it needs to, like everybody else in that company. And I get it. He's the man. He's the face, which means all the stuff falls on him, and he's the company guy, and this, that, and the third. But a lot of that stuff was projection at the wrong people. Like, you need to talk to your boss and these creatives. Like, and for the most part, he was in a better spot than most, because he never ever had to worry about. He doesn't have to ever worry about chasing after the damn 24/7 championship.
Yet, and that's Marcus. Like 100%. You're absolutely correct. Just the notion that when people criticize you, like with Seth Rollins, and you respond so vigorously and so, almost maliciously in your defense, it almost makes it seem like the criticism is not just valid, but is something that you even agree with. It's like that old adage. If somebody goes, "Hey, I think you're cheating on me," and you're in a relationship, and the person responds with, "What? I'm not cheating on you." More than likely, they're probably not cheating on you. But if their reaction was like, "What are you talking about? I can't believe you'd even accuse me," then they're probably cheating. The harder the defense, the louder the reaction, the more likely it's true. It's one thing to defend yourself from criticism, right? Like fair enough. I think Idolo knew that his match sucked. I think Idolo knew that he hated the fact that Kenny Omega and AEW pulled strings to have the change of the match. And, that's the thing. Go back and rewatch the match. I haven't seen it yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if you watched the match and said there are points in this match that Idolo felt like he was dogging it. I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't seen it. I'm making a hypothesis. One of the hypothesis. You got to work, mouth. Jeez, do words. A hypothesis. There we go. I got it. I'm working on a hypothesis. Just follow me. But if you go back and go, well, maybe there's some criticism about Idolo that's right, where it looked like Andrade wasn't putting in his best effort, despite Omega doing so. Then you can correlate that to the news that AEW and Omega had the title, because they were supposed to have a title change. Idolo was supposed to win the belt. But they had the title change switched, and they had Idolo lose instead. I wouldn't be surprised if Idolo dogged it at points in this match because of the change in booking, and Idolo is still upset about it, so he's coming at Meltzer saying some nonsense that's not true. Human behavior is not a complicated thing. We will respond to how we are treated in almost the same way every time. If I stab Marcus in the shoulder, he's going to go, "What the fuck? Why'd you stab me, white boy?" And I'll be like, "Marcus, racist."
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah,
but people, I'm sure you've heard this before, but there's this idea that all people get drunk differently, or it takes longer for people to get drunk. And not everyone is the same when they're drunk. But the thing is, technically that's true, but it's also technically not. It'll take longer for some people to get to a certain blood alcohol content level, depending on how much they drink. Newsflash, just because it takes you longer to drink to get drunk doesn't mean your kidneys work better. It means they work worse because they're overworking. Fun fact. But the thing is, if I were to have 5 beers, I'd be shit-faced more than likely because I don't drink. Somebody else could have 5 beers and not even be buzzed. But once our blood alcohol content level gets to the same point, we will be having the same reactions physically to the alcohol. Human behavior is no different. Emotions are the same from person to person, which is why sociopathic individuals are such a conundrum, because they don't respond that way. That's what makes them sociopaths.
Yeah.
So when you see people like Idolo responding the way he is, it's a clear sign that he knows Meltzer's right.
Yeah, look, and I 100% get, like, if somebody came at Chad, I'd defend him and vice versa, because obviously we know each other personally, and we don't just let people spew nonsense everywhere about each other. But and not to make light of this concept, because we don't do that here, but it for a lot of these WWE performers or former WWE performers, it is a lot like watching somebody come out of fog or haze or just brainwashing in general, because when they're there, it is like going back and forth with somebody in a severely abusive relationship, because it becomes a point where, and going back to the Seth Rollins things, it becomes more important to prove the person trying to come to your defense or snap you out of it wrong than it is to fix an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
So they stick it out, because, like, all the time I put in, it's gonna be worth it, even though every day one of my eyes is black. Like, makes no sense.
And you're not wrong. That is exactly the mentality that a lot of these individuals have. And, there's that mentality of, if I can get a foothold, maybe I can change it. If I can get a foothold, maybe I won't be subject to the same nonsense. But, when we talk about things being systemic and built into the identity of a property, specifically the WWE, that type of behavior, that almost toxic personality, that has to be developed to survive, I think is indicative to who that company is long term. Vince, Triple H, Stephanie, doesn't matter who's running it. That's always been how it is over there. There are always people being mistreated. There are always people who have issues that are quite profound with how things are being ran. And it's not going to change until someone else completely separate of the individuals involved take control. So when it comes to the WWE, AEW, or whomever, I think criticism is fair. And if you overreact to a very nominal thing, like I didn't think he put in his best effort, or he was working to have a good match, not a great match, and you don't agree, more than likely you're just going to be like, all right, cool story, and then move on. Why waste your time on that? But if you agree with it and you don't want to agree with it, you're more than likely to react like an Idolo did, like kind of like a giant jackanape. I don't know what a jackanape actually is. I like to pretend that it's a giant jackalope ape. Like it's an ape jackalope. Like it has antlers like a jackalope, and legs like a jackalope, and like the jackalope torso, but then it has like an ape chest and arms and head like an ape. I think that'd be awesome. That's the new monster movie right there.
Yeah, or the body of an ape and the head as a jack-o'-lantern.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. You can take off the jack-o'-lantern and throw it.
Yeah.
Dude, what's that movie with the Johnny Depp, Sleepy Hollow? That movie just got a hell of a lot more scary. It's a fucking ape with the headless horseman ape. What? No. That's horrifying. He can throw a flaming head at me and then rip my arms off and beat me to death with them. No, thank you. But I wish that wasn't the only story that we had to get to. We'll get to NXT and the NWA here in a second, but I didn't even put it in here. All right, let me rewind the photos. So we had another incident, Marcus, involving someone going off on Twitter for no reason, and so yeah. WrestlePro is booking Deonna Purrazzo as the Impact Champion versus Mercedes Martinez for the January. I know how to count. I know how to read numbers. On the October 16th show in Rahway, New Jersey. Standard rule of thumb, if you're booking someone who's already the champion, you promote them as ex-champion, or not ex-champion, but current champion of said company, the individual. Well, that's not how this person took it. This became like an entire firestorm. I think it was on Friday. And he tweeted it to Kevin Matthews, Cam. And It was basically this dude named Superstar PJ on Twitter. He tweeted out, "What the fuck is this? So you're telling me she, being Deanna, will be champion in October? So anyone facing her this month will lose? This is trash and a slap in the face to a living legend like Melina. I think FOH is fuck out of here, I think." So Kevin Matthews basically was like, "Are you okay? Like, what are you doing?" And this is, again, one of those instances where I point to fans not really having a clue. Now, I think the guy might be related to Melina, because he refers to her at one point as his sister, or like her as his sister. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe they're related, maybe they're not. But he's a fan who is oddly obsessed with Melina as a wrestler, be it family or otherwise. And Marcus, I have to ask, like, and this dude, I thought he was like a 14-year-old, right? Like, if it was a 14-year-old, I would be like, "Hey, listen, man. This is just how they book things. You know, this is how they promote things. It's not an indication on who's going to be champion at the time, just an indication on who's the champion when they book it, right? It's not a spoiler. Everything's going to be okay." Because, like, if you're 14 and acting like that, I don't want to be that guy who's like, "You're fucking stupid. Learn something." Well, that's what you need to do with youngins. You need to learn them. But this dude's in his 40s, Marcus. And he watches enough wrestling to know about the NWA, which is 7th, 8th, 9th on the list of big promotions in the U.S. So he's seen some indie shows, and he knows how they're booked. He knows how they're promoted. He knows how they're marketed. So to see this, man, I'm losing faith in wrestling fans. And I didn't have much to begin with.
As you shouldn't. Specifically the ones on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, man. Look, like I said, we're going back to Idolo for a second. Like, y'all 100% understand coming to the defense of your wife. Some of it may be an over defense, but again, it's the natural instinct of protection. So I get that part. And here, if it's somebody you like, and it's specifically somebody you kin to, I get it. But it's a bit overboard. I mean, I think you had the perfect reply. It's like, dude, first off, cards subject to change. Things happen. But right now it's being promoted that way. That's one. Two, if you are a long-time wrestling fan, you know that when it comes to Deonna Purrazzo and Impact, she's basically the Omega of the knockouts right now. You know, she's had to come in and make up for a lot of ground, not only within the division, but just also as because she's a front runner in that company. You know, because there was a lot of stink left. Not only just on the women in general, but the company, certainly from the world title perspective, when with that whole Tessa mess. So Deonna kind of came in and kind of made up for a lot of stuff in that way, and it would be dumb to kind of drop the belt off. And also, Melina is a legend, yes, but at the same time, if you know again how long-term booking goes and whatnot, you don't take the belt off Purrazzo and give it to Melina.
No.
Now, it could happen. It don't make no sense. And I get that you want it to happen as a fan, but let's not go overboard with calling people idiots and this, that, and the third. And because, the way you talk, if it was left up to you, Melina be the freaking,
everything.
The Bruno Sammartino of this era with the title. She'll probably be Miss Belt Collector. That's fine, and I haven't seen Melina wrestle since some of that time in NWA, but she ain't exactly a spring chicken. She can go, and I don't take nothing from her. She's always been cool to watch in the ring, but Deonna is the new hotness, and she's carrying stuff. And like you said in the tweet, card is subject to change. But as of now, when that match takes place, she's going to be promoted as the champion. So,
So apparently this dude is the brother. Apparently, I guess Melina's father died. When was this? In August or late July of 2020. And apparently Zelina Vega helped out Melina to get her father's remains sent to her. I don't know what the issue with that is all about, but in that tweet where she says, "I want to thank Zelina Vega in helping get my father's remains," the dude quote tweets, "Due to the circumstances we are in and how unexpected this was when it happened, it's very difficult to post one of these for both of us. Anything would help. Very difficult for my sister and I. Thank you for everyone who's donated and will donate. This is so appreciative. Thank you. So, yeah, apparently this dude is her brother, and if not, stalker. But yeah, even days later, he's still going on about it, quote tweeting KM and saying like, where the fuck was it? I just saw it 4 hours ago from 11 o'clock Eastern Standard. He tweets out to KM, "Wow, I'll be damned if I get insulted by a low card indie jobber. You must be just as soft trying to talk shit about a wrestling fan. Keep juicing, bro. You look great for 50 years old." So like, you know, there's that. And I don't know, man. This is fucking stupid.
I get it. I get being there and defending and whatnot, but sometimes, like, again, going back to that classic thing, you got to stop overcooking your grits, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, direct that energy somewhere else. It's projection. We get it, you're mad, but what line did he cross that was so disrespectful that's necessitating you being on this man's head like this?
Nothing. Sincerely nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, and like I don't know, maybe I don't care about my siblings enough to go this hard on somebody. If I found out my brother was in trouble, I'd just be like, listen, do what you gotta do to him. He probably deserves it, and also, don't call me again. It's like I don't know, man.
And also, regardless to whether she wins or loses, both scenarios are a predestinated outcome.
Yeah.
So how much energy do you need to give this? This ain't ultimate fighting. This ain't ultimate fighting where it's like best versus. We know how the game go. So it's a lot of projection, which is once you kind of come to that realization, it's easy to brush off of this lot of stuff because the immediate. And shout out to KM because he was like, "Are you okay, Annie? Are you okay? Are you okay?"
He didn't just Annie, are you okay? He Alien Ant Farmed remade Annie, are you okay? Like, damn, he went deep on the response.
Yeah, and again, like, look, if you're still grieving, that's not to take light of that at all. But even that, man, you got to be, you know, mindful of where you put that energy too, because it's definitely easier to project when you're grieving. So.
Yes, and yes, it's been a year, but I don't feel like you can ever truly get over losing a parent. But on the other hand,
yeah,
what's the old saying? How you handle adversity reflects your true character.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, even if you're still, you know, dealing with grief, if this is the way you respond, then you're kind of a shitty person. So, you know, don't be a shitty person. And for this to be Melina's brother, like, homie, she's been doing this for 17. How do you not know how the game is played? She's 40, bro, and she wasn't that good in her prime. The fact she's still going is a testament to who she is as a character and how strong her fan support is. She's not wrestling Deonna Purrazzo in a 5-star classic. This is going to be a sloppy-ass shit match. Like, it's just going to be. But there's that inherent desire to see people that we still like in wrestling, and that's exactly what we're going to do. You know, like, it's the same thing with Ken Shamrock. You know, like, yeah, he's nearly 60, and he doesn't move nearly as well as he once did, but, you know, most of us will still pop for him. Same with Sting. But we don't need them to be the stars anymore. Melina doesn't need to be the star anymore. Her being involved in the business kind of at her age is still a testament to her longevity and validity as a star. But let's not pretend that she's ever been Deonna Purrazzo in the ring or Tessa in the ring or Gail Kim in the ring. She hasn't. She's fine. Of the era she was in, she was among the top 5, guaranteed. But that's like saying that you were the best player on the Shanghai Sharks. That don't mean you're going to be on the NBA's All-NBA team, you know?
Shanghai Sharks.
Just because you're rolling with, you know, Kyle Kuzma and Michael Beasley doesn't mean that you're something special, kid. And to think people wanted Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, man, but I mean, you know, let's be honest, as wrestling fans over the years, we could do damn near a 2-part show of wrestlers' family members jumping out at the edge of the, you know, the top of the Titanic like Rose and old boy to defend their loved ones unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Freaking Rebby feel like Rebby Carter made a career out of it.
Well, let's talk about the 73rd anniversary show, and then we'll talk about NXT. So we have 8 matches, and we'll also talk about Empowerrr. So here's the lineups for these events. I think they're doing a 2 for 40 special for these next week on Fight TV. So that could be interesting. So we know that Empowerrr is going to have Pratzo versus Melina. That's where all the hubbub is coming about. That's going to be for the Impact title, probably for the Reign of Arenas title too. We're also going to have Camille versus Layla Hirsch for the NWA Women's World Championship. I have no idea which one of those that you main event with because neither of them I think are that impressive of a match. Then we're having the tag team match for the vacant NWA World Tag Team Championships. It's going to be a tournament. It looks like there's going to be 2 matches of 4. So there's going to be 3 matches in total. Plus there's going to be the NWA Women's Invitational Gauntlet, which currently includes Tootie Lynn, maybe the best and worst name in wrestling right now, Jamie Senegal, Chelsea Green, Lady Frost, Debbie Malenko, Bianca Carelli. Oh, that might be Santino's girl, his daughter. Isn't Santino's last name? I'm going to Google this.
Morella.
No. His real
Morella,
last name.
right?
No, that's his wrestling name.
Oh.
I think his real name is like Anthony Corelli. Let's see. Work faster, internet. Anthony Corelli. So yeah, this might be his daughter. She definitely looks Italian. My people. This is a great name. I don't know who this is, but I love this name. Genocide. But her name's Jenna. I love that. Wordplay. High five. Nice. Masha Slamovich. I'm sorry. That's the name. Boom. Winner. Marcus, do you want to go on a date with Masha Slamovich? I promise you I know how that night's going to end.
No, but she might not be that bad of a masseuse after a small fender.
She's actually quite petite. So, like, the name doesn't really track anymore. I was expecting, like, someone that looked like... Remember Zerelda from TNA in, like, 06? I was, like, expecting, like, someone like her or, like, Kayla Harrison. Just, like, someone with muscles on muscles on muscles. But she's, like, not. Yeah. But, like, still a great name. I love it. And then Thunder Kitty, who is a old-school name. Maybe not old school, but, like, last decade in California. She was hanging around with, what are they called? The Tribe, I think was their name. So, interesting. It's an interesting card. You know, I'm definitely going to check it out. I just don't know if I'm going to watch it legally or not. It doesn't feel like a strong enough card for me to invest money on. I'm not sure the 73rd anniversary show does either, but it's at least different. Mickie James is taking on Kylie Ray, Camille, or Layla Hirsch, depending on who wins at Empowerrr. Will take on the winner of the NWA Women's Invitational Cup Gauntlet at the 73rd anniversary show. So this is the show the next day. Then there's Nick Aldis versus Trevor Murdoch in a title versus career match. I might, for that match alone, tune in. Drop $25 just to see if Trevor Murdoch can finally win the big one. Chris Adonis is taking on the returning James Storm. Look, I found him. It's a storm warning. Actually, it's a storm watch. We know he's here. Wait, is a warning that we know he's here? I don't remember how that works. Aaron Stevens and Kratos are taking on La Rebellion, which is Basistia 666 and Mecha Wolf 450. I didn't even realize this, but I figured out why Thom Latimer's buddy isn't with him anymore. I forget what his name was. He's in New Japan now. He works for the U.S. branch of New Japan. I didn't realize that. So that's why Thom Latimer is no longer part of the Tag Team Champions. Go figure. Speaking of Latimer, he's taking on Crimson and Tim Storm in a brawl in the Lou. Not exactly a name that I think makes sense. And I think this is like supposed to be like a number 1 contendership match, I guess, for the national championship, I think is what Billy Corgan said. And then here,
they took, and it's not a joke. They took Crimson off security.
yeah, apparently. No, I think Crimson
Right.
was one of the producers.
Oh, okay.
I think. This is a match that you've been waiting for. The Pope and The End, which is a tag team. Pope is a dude. The End is a tag team. Otis and Impero, they are more known for their All Japan work. I love those two dudes. Are taking on your favorite wrestler outside of one famous Japanese man. We're talking Tyrus. You know, Marcus pops for the Tyrus. And Tyrus is tagging up with the Masked Man and Jordan Clearwater in a 6-man match. And then there's a battle royal to determine the... Oh, I'm sorry. The triple threat's not for the number one contendership. The battle royal is for the number one contendership for the national championship. So, Marcus, do any of those shows do anything for you that make you want to drop $25 to watch this event?
No, not actually. I mean, how many matches is it altogether?
Both shows, I think, have 8 matches. If you
I'm
buy
only
them
interested in
together,
3.
they will knock off $10, charge you $40 for both shows, or $25 for one show.
I'm good on that. I'm only interested in the 2 women's and Murdoch and
Aldous.
maybe 4 Murdoch and all this, the 2 women's and seeing the Pope do his thing.
I was kind of right.
Yeah, everything. Kind of scrap that off. So yeah.
I might tune in. We'll see. I think it's next weekend. Certainly some time to get me interested. All right, that takes us to, speaking of wrestling shows no one watches, NXT is going back to a developmental brand and going back to pre-recorded matches. Marcus, does this turn you on or off for watching more NXT in the future?
I'm kind of in the middle on it. It's neither exciting or disappointing. You know, they trying to get back to basics because really I think the brand ended up feeling too rosterized in a way. I don't think adding another hour really helped it because I think it was niche and it worked as an hour product that left you want more, and then the 2 hours and some change that it gave you were for the takeovers, because you could have that build up really impact in a longer form with those shows. But now, man, it's they really try to make it a third brand, and it comes off a lot of times like Raw and SmackDown. Better in some ways, but just as bland in others. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what this does, because we talked about them trying to go back to the basics in terms of the talent that they get for these shows. So now they're going back to how they perform as well. I don't know if this is exactly what's gonna. Hello. I don't know if it's gonna exactly better get the product to a different tier, but something got to change. So we'll see. But like I said, I'm kind of in the middle, not overly excited over nothing. As long as like the shows are good, no matter if it's taped or not. So to me, anyway.
I always thought that they kind of screwed the pooch by not incorporating NXT as like a development brand on purpose. By what I mean is, it should always have been marketed as a development brand, because if you do that, then you can do a real draft between Raw and SmackDown where you draft NXT talent once a year. And then you can spend let's talk about, the prospects and break them down. And you could really have invested some time and money and gotten a lot of intrigue in that. But they didn't want to do it because they're fucking stuck in their stupid 1984 ways. Let's have the same 4 matches in the span of a month. Then we do a blow off. And then we do it all again for 2 or 3 more months because we don't know what the fuck we're doing anymore. So you know what? Fuck them. I hope they go out of business. I mean, they won't, but I hope they do. Lastly, before we get to making an impact, let's talk real briefly about NWA's Resurgence event. And not NWA. Why did I just say that? Nope, that's not right. It's New Japan. Marcus, I don't know if you checked out any of Resurgence from this weekend.
Yes, I did.
I actually paid for this show.
Wow.
Yeah. Kind of wish I didn't. The wrestling was fine, but this was not a strong show. I mostly paid for it for 3 reasons: to see Tanahashi, to see who John Moxley's tag team partner would be, and for the 10-man tag. I thought those were going to be interesting, and they were. Like, they were fine, but they weren't $20 fine. But the thing that really disappointed me was I really thought that New Japan was going to do it. I thought New Japan was going to bring in Sami Callihan to tag with John Moxley for this match. And then so they go with Yuji Nagata. Now, I love Yuji Nagata. No one can tell me that Yuji Nagata is not the greatest presence as an ambassador type in wrestling. He's so optimistic. He's so easy to root for. He's a legend, and he's still going. And he even said, or at least through Kevin Kelly. Kelly even said that Yuji Nagata wants to wrestle until he's 70. And I hope he does, because that man is just, I love him. Just amazing. But not worth hyping up the surprise. Now, granted, I think Moxley was supposed to tag with somebody else, and they fell out. So I don't think the original plan was to ever do, like, the mystery tag team partner angle. But, like, you could have done better than Nagata. I spent $20 on this show. Give me better than Nagata. I want to see Nagata on the show, but not in this match. Like, come on. Jay White and Dave Finlay was fine. Tanahashi and Lance Archer was good. I liked it. Tanahashi wins the U.S. title. And they gave us this fucking iconic shot. It's up on the screen right now. I tweeted it out. And it's Tanahashi with the U.S. title underneath the front of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum Olympic Stadium. And you can see the Olympic rings and the torches lit. And it's probably the best photograph of 2021 in wrestling. I dare you, and I don't mean this facetiously, I dare you to find me a better one. Because, like, I don't think that exists. Yeah. And it might, and I would love to see it.
And ladies and gentlemen, because we have to, acknowledge all sides, do not tweet to us any photos of the head of the table, because his shirt is off and he's oily. Okay.
The head of the table.
Reigns.
Okay. Yeah.
The tribal chief.
All right, like, listen, I'm glad you finally got rid of the stupid vest. But those stupid cargo pants need to go too. Just, you look like some movie villain. Like you show up and the hero's like, all right, I got to get through you two. And then the Reigns villain would be like, yeah, but that's not going to be as easy as you think. And he just takes off the vest and like the guns, and it just drops, and he just stands there as a hulking mass. It's like, oh, okay, you're that villain. You're the I want to die with my abs out villain. Fair enough.
I mean, but absolutely, like you said, you tweeted that shot. That's a perfect shot, man. And absolutely one that's worthy of absolute. At this point, feels like icon in Tanahashi. So, with a title for the first time that he never won, which kind of seems improbable, but it was a thing, and it was cool. And to see him go against Archer, for him to not only drop it to Tanahashi, but also rightfully so pay that respect. It was a cool moment.
Yeah, and Archer really did do a nice service for a Tanahashi post match where he's like, "Man, you are the best," and then he's like, "But I'm gonna kill you," because he's Archer and he's insane. All right, that'll do it for Wrestling Underground. We're going to do our outro, but if you're listening live, stick around. We're going to do Making an Impact next. We're going to review this past week's edition of the show. Check us out for Mark Screen over at Paradox Kid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Painting Show, TRUEPENNYSHOW. I'm Chad Porto, Chad Nerdcorp, CHED. Wait, nope, I said that completely wrong. I'm Chad Porto. You can find me on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCORP, and on Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. Then the website, realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCORP, and on the Twitter at NERDCORP. Tune in next Monday for another edition of the Wrestling Underground Live podcast. Follow us on YouTube and all the other stuff. For Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porter. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. And as always, watch more wrestling. Marcus, take us home.
Good night, meat.
All right. 109.36. That's what we're going with. 109.36.